Are you ready?
This is From the Backline, a soccer podcast from Vancouver, covering the game at home and abroad. Here are your hosts, Mark Daly and Jorge Mendoza.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 292 of From the Backline. Mark and Jorge with you. And boy, oh boy, Mark, we have done this show, 13 years ago we started.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you something. I don't think I have ever been with so deep mixed feelings about starting to record a show as I am today. Because we have, on the one hand, the performance on the pitch, which is like the highest of highs, and we have all the mess that is kind of going down on the side, which is the lowest of the lows. And it's hard. It's hard to know how to feel, and my brain is trying to tell me to like focus on the positive and trying to be happy about that. But like there's like this gray cloud looming over us. But anyway, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. And, dude, I am so disappointed. I thought we were Vegas Whitecaps FC till we die. Like, seriously, like, what is going on with this negativity, bro?
How dare you?
You were supposed to be, like, the positive one. And, like, now I'm the positive one. And, that's it, dude. It's just like, LVFC, how would it be, like Las Vegas Whitecaps FC? So LVWFC. That's a mouthful, dude. I'm not ready for that.
Doesn't roll out of the tongue.
It does not roll off the tongue easily, but neither does this whole business. Like, it is absolutely ridiculous that we are in this position, and I'm so concerned, I'm sad, I'm frustrated and angry and hopeful. Like I'm on this whole spectrum of like emotions and everything, and it kind of goes back and forth. And like I don't know, dude. And I've seen, I've been a sports fan all my life, and multiple sports, multiple teams, and I feel like we've seen this movie before played out in front of us, not with the Whitecaps, but other teams and other sports and other cities. And it always seems when it gets to this point, it never ends well for the home fans. So that's why I'm really concerned about this. And, I just, the numbers that are kind of get thrown out there, that they've met with like 100 groups or something like that. And I'm just like that almost sounds like too convenient of a high number, but who am I to question it? And are they really any of these groups, like they say, where they kind of discarded them or discounted them because they were going to keep the team in Vancouver, and there's literally nobody left in the city? And I'm really would love to hear from the owners themselves, because they've been kind of silent on the deal, and everything kind of comes like second and third hand through the club and through the PR, which is fine, but I would just like to see something get done ASAP, because like that Spider-Man meme where the two Spider-Men are pointing at each other. I feel like that's what the discussion is. The Whitecaps are pointing their finger at the city or the province, and the city and the province are doing, like, everybody's pointing their fingers at each other. And then apparently Don Garber's trolling David Eby on on social media, then say that he got hacked. But it's just the whole situation, bro. It's just bizarre, and it sucks.
Here's the thing, dude. Like, it's hard to know who to believe.
Exactly.
We hear so many things from so many people, and apparently everybody has the best intentions, and everybody is set on making sure that the Whitecaps stay in Vancouver, but it hasn't happened yet, right? So everybody seems to have good enough reasons for this team to stay in the city, and yet they have not been able to get something done, right? And if you look at the timeline, right, back in December, before MLS Cup final in early December, that's when really this conversation started to gain a little momentum, when Don Garber came out and kind of said something. And at the time, I felt like it was still part of the negotiation, right? Like, it was still like, I was like, I think he's posturing a little bit to press on the city a little bit. And then in December, they came out and they say that they had this letter of intent to get that stadium and at the Hastings racing course. And I was like, that's it. That was it. That was the move that Don Garber did. It was to get this done, and now we're off to the races. And then it kind of went like radio silence for a few months, and now this is starting to pick up. The language that is being thrown around by all parties, by the Whitecaps, when he's like, we implore any sort of like Vancouver-based ownership group to come forward. That sounds kind of like last-ditch efforts, which is concerning. Like you said, like everybody keeps pointing at, like the city, Mayor Sim came out and said like, hey, we're doing everything that we can, and we have put everything that the Whitecaps wanted. So why don't you just tell us what Whitecaps ownership, why did you tell us what they want? Because everything else that you asked for has been put into a plate. Comes the province also saying, no, we're going to fight for the Whitecaps. And you're like, okay, everybody wants to do this, so why is it not happening? So yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not feeling as optimistic as I did even a few weeks ago, and that is concerning, and that is a little sad. And I don't know. I was talking to some people at work, and I don't know. Like I everybody seems pretty disappointed. So I don't know.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm 100% with you. And that's the thing, right? You go back and wind this thing back like 5 or 6 months ago. I was just like, this is great. We're going to get a new stadium. We know that it worked because that's where they started life in MLS, was at that temporary stadium that they had at the Field with the BC Lions during the whole, the upgrade to BC Place after the Olympics and all that. And it was fantastic. So you're going to move it over about a half a kilometer to where the old racetrack was, build a new facility. And I was just like, that's great. If anything, a move there would be better for us, being suburbanites like ourselves is actually a little bit, well, I mean, I guess it depends if you want to drive or SkyTrain it into downtown. Anyways, I was very excited about that. And that's the thing that kind of like bugs me. It's just exactly like you say, it's like, well, we've done everything we can, but the other two parties involved aren't being sincere, or they haven't, that's kind of like the underlying message. And everybody's like, no, we've done everything we can. And I just feel like we're kind of in this standoff position that like I say, I don't feel like it's going to end in a good spot. And as a supporter, I feel like we're the ones that have the gun held to our head, and there's nothing that we can do about it, because it feels like it's going to go sideways. And and all credit to all the fans and supporters that are going out around with the Save the Caps campaign. And I guess it's interesting, right? And I'm just sort of thinking out loud, but it seems like the real catalyst to this was David Osted, right? When he started that petition, about a month ago or whatever it was. And props to him for raising what awareness he could with the the presence and the influence that he has, and the connection that he still has for the club. I love David Osted as a player. When he was with the Whitecaps, he just felt that he went out there and just gave it his all every single time he pulled the sweater on, the jersey on for the Whitecaps. So to come back and do it when he doesn't need to, and to drive that awareness, tells me that that there's a lasting enduring connection to the club. And if that's the starter for all of this before it was too late, then that's hopefully maybe a turning point. I just don't know. That old saying is like trying to close the barn door after the cows have ran away or something like that. I don't know. I don't live on a farm, but it sounds like something that I heard from a farmer one time. So there's that.
And here's the thing. My wife, who is, I would argue, a bit of a cynic herself, she would say that she's a realist, but she says potato, I say potato.
But there is fair enough. I think there's a little bit of cynicism being a realist and vice versa. I think there's there's a little bit of both, in fairness.
But she asked me, she's like, she said, I love this Save the Caps movement. I think that's great. Yeah. But in reality, what is he going to do? Like, is he going to have a real impact? and I got a thought about it. And I mean, she has a point, right? To a certain extent, she has a point.
Yeah,
because
100%.
at the end of the day, the powers that be, the people who are going to make the decisions, their main motivation is at the end of the day money. Like it's at the end of the day, football is a business, and the Whitecaps are for-profit enterprise like any other company. And if you are losing money, that is not going to be viable long term. So will they, like, with current ownership or the ownership group that wants to take this franchise, are they going to touch their hearts and like, look at the fans claiming for this team, let's just keep them in Vancouver? No, they're just going to do whatever is best to protect their interests and protect their investment. And I understand that from a capitalist perspective, as horrific and kind of like squirmy as that makes me feel, but I get it. I think that the positive thing that can come of something like Save the Caps is that it just shows the passion that it exists for this team in this city, which could be a factor when any ownership group keeps in consideration. We're like, okay, well, are we keeping the team here, or are we gonna, taking the team somewhere else? Because it's better than nobody care, right? Like, and I know that there are other markets in the league where the team is irrelevant to their fan base. So the fact that this team has one of the best attendances records among the league, that there's all this outcry publicly to save the Caps and to keep them in Vancouver, I think that this is a signal for an ownership group to say, hey, there is a fervent fandom and fan base in this city. So maybe that could be a factor that plays into perhaps keeping the team in the city. But in reality, it's gonna be tough, and I don't think that the people who are gonna put the money on the table are necessarily going to have the fans and how disappointed we're going to be is going to be their main motivation or the main factor they're going to take into consideration when making a decision. So yeah, I mean, let's keep going and let's keep showing that this city loves this team, and like, let's hope for the best. I do want to make a point about this baseball bit. I know that we talked about it last week, but I want to talk about a little bit more. Like, when you see Ryan Reynolds, apparently he's involved and he's interested in being a part of that franchise or the ownership group or something like that. And I get it. Like, sure, you want to bring a team to the city, do your homework, you have a stadium. What really grinds me is that, like, and here's the renderings for a new stadium. You're like, wait, what? No, like, how is that possible? How are we looking at making a new stadium next to the current baseball stadium that we have?
Yeah,
right. Because BC Place was built to be a baseball stadium in the first place. I think is the stadium bit is what, like, I think that if you were pushing for an MLB franchise, I see that as separate tracks. Sure, let's save the Whitecaps, and the Whitecaps' viability financially, it's one thing, and it has almost nothing to do with this baseball thing. And sure, the more the merrier. But the moment that they bring out a new stadium, that's when I'm like, okay, well, hold on a second. What are we talking about?
Yeah. Okay, so I am a cynic, am a sarcastic member of Generation X, and I'm also a realist. So let's put it this way. I'm also basically a lifelong Vancouver resident. So I've had my share of heartache when it comes to professional sports team, and then some. I've been on the emotional abuse roller coaster of being a Vancouver sports fan for all my life. So let's put it this way. If the Whitecaps do pack up and end up going to Albuquerque or Las Vegas or South Pole,
why does it have
wherever,
to be a desert city?
I don't know. Maybe because it's sandy, I guess. But wherever if they end up leaving, they go somewhere else. then, I was a big fan of the Grizzlies when they were here. So when Ryan Reynolds comes around, the timing is, very unfortunate for them. But to be quite honest, and pardon my French, I don't give a shit. I really do not care to see a Major League Baseball team in Vancouver because I already support a team, and that's the Toronto Blue Jays. So I don't actually give a shit. And I don't think that we need a Major League Baseball team in town. We definitely don't need another stadium, especially if they're looking for any public funds, especially because the economy sucks really bad too. I just think it's just not necessary, especially when 95% of the Canadian population support the Toronto Blue Jays. It seems completely irrelevant to me. If I really want to go and see a Major League Baseball game, hey, I don't mind jumping in the car and driving 2 hours down to go to Seattle and watch, the Mariners play. And especially when the Blue Jays are in town, it's like, it's like a satellite of Canada in downtown Seattle for that series whenever the Jays come to town. So I'm just completely disinterested. My passion is for the Whitecaps. I've completely disassociated myself from the Canucks. Unfortunately, I've gotten, I dislike the Canucks so much now that I've actually almost to start to not like hockey now. That's how bad it's become. Yeah. And I've always enjoyed watching the CFL. I'm also a big NFL fan. I'm also a big, football fan. So, soccer fan, Formula One fan, but I've always cheered for the home team, right? And at this point, to see, the Grizzlies leave in the 90s and potentially to see the Whitecaps leave. And I think it was Carm Sumal, who was the founder of Daily Hive and Vancity Buzz formerly, made a good point. He said that cities, if they're growing in their big major markets, don't let their big league teams get away. And it just feels that this kind of has it's different circumstances, but it feels very similar to, when the Grizzlies up and left. I mean, they were just kind of like a poorly run franchise, right from the beginning, and Big Country was kind of a big flop, and they just couldn't get any good players to really sign with the team. But I mean, and that's where the Whitecaps have been different. We've seen this progression, all the teething pains, especially when we did version 1 of the podcast, and then over the last several years we've seen them going from obviously an expansion franchise that had their occasions from time to time. They had their moments. They definitely did, but we saw them become a very stable and, consistent MLS team. And then over the last couple of years, we've really seen them go to that next level. And last year just speaks for itself. And, the signing of Thomas Buehler was like the cherry on top of the cake. And if you just look at what they're doing right now, I mean, statistically, they're blowing everybody away. And they had that one poor result, so they're not quite at the top of the table, but they're right up there. And again, we'll talk about in a moment here that against the Rapids on Saturday night. Again, the fact that Colorado kind of hung around in that match for as long as they did was a testament to them. But at no point in that match did I feel that the Whitecaps were going to lose, and that is definitely not something I think anybody's been used to if you've been following this team for the past 15, 16 years in MLS. And that's why this whole thing just really, really, really sucks. For those of us that love the Whitecaps and have invested all this time supporting and following the team, I mean, it would be a real blow. And that's why, like you say, who do you trust when it comes to the stuff that's being said in the media? Because they all sound very sincere and they all seem to make some very good points, but yet we have this, this disconnect. But then also apparently now maybe lurking in the background is potentially maybe a local buyer that's being teased. And yeah, I don't know. I hope it ends well, but
I just have two more points, and then we can move on and talk about the better part of the show. One is talking about the MLB bid. I was talking to my friend Karen, And we were talking about, listen, the same issues that the Whitecaps face, that potential Major League Baseball team is going to face. Perhaps even worse, because there's more games, right? So, like, if you look at it, like, okay, so the Whitecaps seems like there's not enough corporate support, and obviously they have like no stadium, and the stadium that, like, the stadium deal with BC Place that they have sucks. So maybe that's why the MLB bid is looking to build a new stadium, just like the Whitecaps does. But also there's other issues, like, the biggest bill that they have, which is salaries, it's in USD, but the revenues are in Canadian dollars, right? So that right there, you're shaving 30% of like your revenues to begin with. So surely the people who are behind this bid have done a viability study. So why does it make sense for them when they have 82 games to fill and not the Whitecaps, which have 20? So I feel there's a disconnect there. Like, why would it work for them, but it doesn't work for the Whitecaps, right? Why are they so cavalier in saying that they were going to get a stadium deal done, but not the Whitecaps? So I'm not one for tinfoil, hats and conspiracies, but like something that's weird to me. Second thing and last thing, like you mentioned, alluded earlier, Don Garber, my MLS commissioner, sent an unfortunate tweet calling our David Eby, quote, liar, liar, pants on fire, in a very 7-year-old style. And then immediately,
I love it.
Immediately, the MLS corporate communications boss came out and said, like, the commissioner got compromised, his account got compromised, and he never wrote that. That it's bizarre to me, dude. Because listen, my Twitter password is password, and I have never been hacked. And it's just so weird to me that all these people, they make miraculously hacked exactly after they say something dumb on Twitter. That's the moment, like, oh, I just got hacked, and you're like, it's the timing is impeccable. So anyway,
well, what sort of shady websites was the commission visiting that, like, he was able to, like, they were able to, like, figure out his thing, and there's a 2F8 on a thing, but he clicked on a link that he shouldn't have gone for. So if there's a liar pants on fire, I think we know who it probably is. That's it. Let's move on. Let's talk about Colorado. Even so, just on that, even if he got hacked, the time, it was just funny. I couldn't help but laugh. I was just like, I can't believe that he would, but if not, the tinfoil hat in me is just
all the things that the hacker could have said. He had control over the MLS commissioner's Twitter account. Out of all the things that he could have said, he decided to call David Eby a liar, pants on fire.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! It just, when you think things can't get any weirder, they get weirder, and that was actually it was funny. Like, regardless who did it, it's actually kind of funny just because it's so immature. Anyways, let's talk about a bit of things. So the Whitecaps played last weekend. They kind of won a match again, which was good. And Brian White kind of scored a couple of goals, which was good. Bruno Caicedo kind of scored a goal, and then it totally was disallowed. So that was not so good. But at the end of the day, they won, and things are good. And
things
that probably sounds
very good. These are very good. And when you look at the, I guess, points per game percentage, they're the best team in the league. They're just below the San Jose Earthquakes, but they have the same number of points with one game ahead. So that just tells you the job that this team is doing. It tells you the kind of job that Bruce Arena is doing and the San Jose Earthquakes are doing, because who had in their predictions that the San Jose Earthquakes were going to absolutely destroy for the first third of the season. And more importantly, San Diego, they were absolutely running the Western Conference. They ended up being at the top of the conference over the Whitecaps last season. They're coming on 11th, 17 17 goals against, but they have 11 points coming from three wins and 2 draws and 5 losses. Like talking about like two different seasons for them. But I mean, talking about back to the Whitecaps, once again, they came out so quickly, they came out so hard, and they had the game maybe not wrapped up like the previous week, but definitely they were in control from very early on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing that I think is, again, very encouraging about this team is they get off to a fast start. Sabali scores just in the 7th minute, and Thomas Mueller's involved again. They double their lead before the half-hour mark. Brian White getting another goal. Kubas and Tate Johnson involved in those one, and then Navarro scores that one goal to kind of like drag them back into it, and then it takes the Whitecaps quite some time. I mean, it was disappointing that Caicedo's goal was disallowed, but when you saw the replay, I mean, his arm is extended, the ball comes up and hits him. I don't think there was any intent there, but it is what it is. But again, I mean, Caicedo, he's like got scary speed, right? I mean, the way that when he lights those burners, I mean, it is incredible when he hits that top gear, how quick that guy is there. And I mean, and right at the end there, that Brian White's second goal of the night, Caicedo and Sebastian Berhalter involved, and 3-1 at the end of the day there. And like you're saying, I mean, they're down behind the San Jose Earthquakes by a couple of points. So that game that they played against the Quakes a couple of weeks ago, that was your classic 6-pointer, right? Because that's what the deficit is. But like you say, there is a silver lining to that cloud, because they are, they have one less match played compared to both LAFC and the Quakes. But if you look at Seattle, who's sitting 4th with 19 points, they've only played 8 matches so far, and they haven't lost a match in their previous 5. They got 4 wins and a draw, so they're in pretty good form as well. But I mean, it just kind of blows my mind to see the San Jose Earthquakes with the record that they have and what they're doing there. I mean, Colorado is kind of interesting though when you look at it. I mean, they played 10 matches, 7th in the Western Conference with 13 points, but their record the past 5 matches not really exactly all that bueno. 3 losses, a win, and a draw. So I guess that was kind of on form for them. But yeah, I certainly feel like that they hung around a lot longer than they probably should have in this one before the Whitecaps really put it to rest. And Brian White, 2 really, really good, what I would call strikers goals.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those that you have to be in the right place in the right time, and you have to put them away. So yeah, those are the kind of goals. Let me ask you a question. Something that has been on my mind is the wings.
Okay.
We have seen several combinations, several players playing in those positions, and to be honest, everybody seems to look good playing in the wing. So who would be, like, bearing health, if all you had a full roster, who would be your starter wingers? You have Jivan Badwal, you have Chase Sabali, you have Emmanuel Sabi, you have Bruno Caicedo, you have Asiel Jackson.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I was kind of thinking about that myself the other day, and isn't it amazing what you can do when you have a very deep squad? And, you basically look at the players who are getting the minutes and those who aren't, and just the competition that creates within the team to get those, those starting minutes. Because I was thinking, like, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking like so much about like Jivan Badwal and how great it is to see a local player, somebody who's come through the academy, getting minutes, and apparently he was in Jesper's starting 11. And then last couple of games, I'm like, hey, what happened to Jivan? It's just like, I thought he was a starting 11 kind of guy, and now he's not. And the same with the AZ, started off the season, but then Bruno Caicedo comes along, and And it's really interesting because it doesn't seem to matter what combination of players that Jesper Sorensen uses. And I'm not just talking about on the wings. I'm talking anywhere, because arguably he hasn't had his optimal, top tier squad available to him at any time this season, and for in parts of last season as well. I mean, your Ryan Gaulds, and and the list kind of goes on from there. Is there's still so many key players that are hurt, and it's going to take some time to get all of them back, and somehow they still seem to be playing well. There's obviously a lot of chemistry with this with this team. And I almost feel like you could put a couple of folding chairs out there on the wings and they'd still play just as well. Jokies aside, I mean, it's incredible to me, because if you go back over the history of this team, at sometimes they were so one-dimensional, and there was no combination of anything you could throw out there at some times that would work. And now it's almost like an embarrassment of riches. And to be quite honest, Jorge, I really don't know. It's just like whatever Jesper seems to do works. So I'm just like, if that seems to be what works, don't stop doing that.
Oh my God, you did a phenomenal job of
not answering
for
the question.
3 minutes, not answering my question.
Yes.
You son of a bitch. Okay, so I will answer the question. I think I have my personal favorite. I'm a Savvy guy. I like Savvy a lot.
Me too.
So
Me too.
I would go with him on the right, and I think I would go with Jivan on the left. I would still leave Caicedo to come on at the 70th, 65-ish, and just burn speed over tired legs. And Sabali, I think Sabali and Jackson, I think they can be.
They're good squad players.
They could be there for the taking but I think those two would be my starting forwards, which leads me to another question that I hope that this one you will answer this time around.
Doubtful.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of hopes. Ryan Gauld. So at the beginning of the year, in January, they said that he was going to have surgery once again on his knee, and he was expected to come back roughly by April. Well, April has come and gone, and now we're looking to May. So I don't know the status of Ryan Gauld. He's for practical purposes, he's missed basically over a year now. But let's put that aside, and let's say that they say April. Let's say that he comes back in May, and he's ready to go. For argument's sake, where do you put him? I know.
I don't know. And I'm being honest with you this time. I'm not going to try and talk my way out of it. But I mean, wherever you put him, after the serious injury that he's had, and considering, like you say, we're already in the month of May, and we're kind of a month-ish past when we were kind of expecting to see him declared fully fit, ready to play again. And considering how dodgy knees can be, I think that you really kind of ease him back into it. Or maybe that's what they're doing right now, considering that the team is playing so well without him. Not that we don't want him to come back, but there's no urgent need for him to go out there and play a lot. They've got things covered. So I would like to see him really be actually 100% fit before he starts playing again. But honestly, I don't know where you would put him in at the moment.
I will accept that answer just because I don't know either. Because the 4-2-3-1 in that line of three, that the middle, it's Muller's spot. And even though at 36, he doesn't seem to be stopping, and I don't think he's going to need any, they're not playing CONCACAF Champions Cup anymore or anything like that. So I don't think he's going to need a lot of rest days by any stretch. So I don't think he's going to go anywhere. And that is where I think Gould's natural position would be. So
me too.
unless God, let me touch as many wooden surfaces as I can reach from here. Bearing Mueller stays healthy, I don't think he's going to get that spot anytime soon. And, being age 30 now, Gold, but also even younger, I don't think that speed was his biggest attribute. And it's clear that what Sorensen and Sorensen's tactics need are speedy wingers, right? You have Sabali, and you have obviously the Flash, Usain Bolt, also known as Bruno Caicedo, and you have Xavi, who's also a quick player. I don't think that his physical attributes would make him effective on the wings. And I think that, you could look at maybe putting him a little deeper next to Kubas, but then what are you going to sit Berhalter? So I don't know. I don't know where he fits in this team.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And the other thing too, about Thomas Mueller, is that, sometimes you get players that are over 30 years, they're good for a half or 60 minutes or something like that. I don't definitely sit there cutting up there at a minute 55. Tommy's got 5 minutes left in the tank kind of thing. He's still in really good shape and is able to, to play and meet the demands of the game. But, having said that, he hasn't played a full season in MLS. But the one thing that's kind of a bonus for all the players that aren't going to the World Cup is they're going to get a nice break, coming up fairly soon, that, they don't have to worry about, the long grind that the MLS season is not going to be the same this year as it would be in normal years. So who knows, right? We've got a little bit of time to go before we hit the World Cup break. And I guess we'll just have to evaluate there. I have to admit, I'm getting a little bit kind of anxious. I really would like to see Ryan Gold back on the pitch. But every time I think that to myself, that the next question always that logically follows is, but at the expense of who? And and that's such a nice problem to have, because kind of to go back it up to one of the points I made a few moments ago, is that I see a lot of chemistry in this team, not to say that he would disrupt that, but they seem to be firing on all cylinders. I see a lot of footballing IQ out on the pitch, and I see good ball distribution. I see a lot of good decisions. I don't really see them getting caught out at the back, and, they're able to counter well, and, they're ticking so many boxes for me, in the good part of the checklist, not in the oh my god check columns, what's going on here. They're doing such an excellent job, and you just have to think that when Gauld comes back, he's going to make the team even better. But that also asks the other question, is well, how much better can they get? And I know that nothing good lasts forever, but it certainly is. It's an interesting thought process, and it'll be very interesting to see what Jesper Sorensen does, especially when he gets his preferred or his squad fully healthy again, and what decisions he makes at that point. Not that everybody that's injured is all going to come back at the same time, but at some point he's got to have a fully healthy squad, right?
And that was the exercises with the best possible scenario in mind, right? Ryan Gould is back and he's good to go. But the reality is, you said, he got injured in March of last year. We didn't see him again until late September, early October. He played a handful of games, and now he's been out again for the first basically third of the season. So now I'm starting to worry, okay, what is going on with Ryan Gould, and are we going to see him back? And if we do see him back, is he going to be sort of at the level that he wants? Because especially there's absolutely no discussion about he's one of the best players that has ever put on a Whitecaps jersey, by far. So yeah, like you said, it's I really want him to come back and have this problem and discuss this problem in real terms, because he's back and he's ready to go, and we don't know where he's gonna play. I think that would be great for him and for the team. But yeah, so you want to talk LA Galaxy now?
Sure.
the LA Galaxy having a better season of what they did last year, but then again, that's not a huge accomplishment because they had an absolute garbage season last year. So I mean, they're doing a little bit better, but they're 10th. They have a record of 3 wins, 3 draws, and 4 losses. They have scored 15 goals. They have let in 16, so they have a -1. It's still not a great LA Galaxy team to what they showed they could do as early as 2 years ago when they were MLS Cup champions. I think that the absence of Ricky Push has really, obviously, they won in 2024 with Ricky Push for the majority of the season. He was not available for MLS Cup final, and then he was out all of last season. He's re-injured again, unfortunately, so he's out all of this season. So I think that a lot of their firepower and chemistry is out with Ricky Push, but it is the LA Galaxy, and you can never be too comfortable playing against them, especially down in LA.
Well, that's just it, and it's one of those matches, though, where I think you have to be like a little bit careful, right? I mean, the Whitecaps have had a very good start to the season. I mean, like you say, LA Galaxy are not the LA Galaxy that they used to be. And can I say that 2012 playoff game against the Galaxy still haunts me in my dreams? But anyways, we'll try and move on from that. But
was that when Matt Wilson hit the post? Was that what's up?
Could have been, and then didn't Darren Maddox have a chance that he missed? But I feel like
Darren
that could have been said. Like,
had nothing but chances and misses in his entire Whitecaps career. That's all he did.
Yes, I think that's pretty fair, right? Yeah, I mean, it's. I think they're an interesting team to look at, and I mean, I was just going to pull up the table here. I had it a second ago. I mean, they're sitting there at 10th right now, and I mean, they've only won 2 out of their last 5, and they're sitting there kind of like in the bottom half of the table, and I think that the Whitecaps should be able to beat them, but I don't know. Why am I feeling like a little bit unsure of this? I don't really feel I feel that's unjustified considering all the good things that we've seen them do. Like I don't know if I'm just letting everything get to me, because on paper this should be a one that the Whitecaps, even though it's on the road, they should win this match, right?
They have a perfect road record this season.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
They won and they beat the Timbers. But it's an interesting. I mean, is the first match out of 8 that they're going to be on the road. We sort of alluded that last week. So it's going to be 8 long matches away from BC Place. I think, like we discussed last week, I think they did their work at home, and except for like that San Jose match, I don't think they could have done any better. So looking at the next 8 matches on the road, like we said, so they're going to face, they got LA Galaxy, they're going to go down to San Jose, then they're going to face Dallas, the Houston Dynamo, San Diego, Chicago, Cincinnati, and Minnesota. So basically, they're at the top of the table, so they're looking at facing all teams that are under them in the current standings. Probably the toughest matches are going to be obviously San Jose, which they already were beaten by at home, and then they're going to go to the Bay Area and play them there. And probably Chicago, who is not having a bad season. They're 3rd in the East. They have 17 points. They have a record of 5 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses. So with those 8 matches on the road, on the horizon, how many points do you think are realistically attainable for this team?
It's, I got to take a look at that schedule again, because I mean, I think that this homestand was, despite the fact that they lost to the I was going to say the Rapids, to the Earthquakes, I think was exactly what they needed. I mean, that's even going back to last month, but I mean, they beat Portland, they beat New York City FC, they beat Kansas City, they beat Colorado. Yeah, I mean, The San Jose one is obviously going to be tricky, I think. And then Dallas and Houston, I mean, historically, those were always kind of like tricky matches for them as well. So what are we looking at between now and then the end of, so we got 5 matches this month. I would say that that you probably got to get at least 10 points out of that. I would think
10 points.
Yeah.
You if they come back with 10 out of 24 points.
Oh, sorry. What am I thinking? No, that 10 is way too low. What am I thinking of here? So we got 5. Okay. Yeah. No, there's got to be obviously a lot more than that. I mean, they should beat LA. I want to see them beat obviously San Jose on that sort of that rebound match. Where am I just looking? I've got all my notes mixed up here, which doesn't help. But yeah, I mean, I think you got to win 4 out of those 5 matches, honestly.
There's 8 matches.
8 matches?
Goodness me.
I'm looking at the sorry. I'm looking at.
Okay, I'll get your shit together, and I'll go first. So they have 8 matches to come. I think if they come back with 16 points.
Yeah.
So that would be winning 5 and a draw. So it would be like if they get like 5 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses, I would say that's pretty good.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just looking at May. I wasn't looking at the July matches when they're still on the road, even though you were talking about it there too. Yeah, no, I would agree. I think you got to win 5 of those, and then it's this is honestly like the season defining part of the year, right? I mean, it's a very long, extended road trip. I mean, you're on the roads. I mean, the one thing that's good, right, is May is, they're not really going any further east than Dallas or Houston, right? I mean, it's basically up and down the coast and then, and just to Texas for a couple of matches. So it's not like they're jumping back and forth across the country and lots of travel. So that's one thing they don't really have to worry about too much. So I think that, winning 5 matches out of that. But then you get like this extended layoff. They finished their last game against San Diego on May 23rd. They don't play a league match again till the middle of July when they go to Chicago. So I mean that's a long time. It's 6 weeks, right? So I mean,
like basically on a regular league, that's an entire off season. Basically, almost.
That's it, right? Because, like you said, Chicago's now currently 3rd in the East. I mean, that's going to be a tricky match, to go all that way. I mean, you've already been away from home.
In Chicago too, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Not a great time of year, and then you still got a couple more road matches against Cincinnati and Minnesota. I mean, they don't come back to play a match at BC Place until August 1st when they play LAFC. So that's a really, really long time, and a big layoff in between. So. I mean, I would think that. What do you think in the month of May? LA, San Jose, Dallas, Houston, and San Diego. Do we expect that 4 wins out of 5 is a realistic targets against those teams?
No. So here's how I see it. Here's what I see it. You get 5 wins out of Dallas, Houston, San Diego, Cincinnati, and Minnesota.
Yes, I agree with that.
You get a draw against the Galaxy. Because it's the Galaxy, and I'm not allowed, but like I'm saying, like you are for losing in San Jose and Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. Like
so those are my 16 points.
I would agree with you on the Chicago one. I think that when we get to San Jose next week, I think I'm going to call it right now. I think the Whitecaps are going to win that one. I think that they're going to want that.
Have you not seen? You see how Timo Werner is doing? He's scoring he scored like 27 goals in the month of April.
No, I get that, but I think that's going to be a really good game to watch. I think it's going to be a fascinating match to watch because the Whitecaps are going to be very hungry for that one because that was obviously a game that I wouldn't say that they should have won, but definitely that was a game that they didn't want to lose. Not that they want to lose any other game, but San Jose, I think, was a very disappointing result for them early on in the season. So to get that away match in San Jose at PayPal Park so close after the home match here at BC Place last month, I think it's like a really, really well-timed opportunity for them. I don't know. Personally, my gut feeling is that that they could win that one, and who am I to actually be accurate about that? But I don't know. I'm feeling like you're saying. I'm feeling maybe a draw against the Galaxy on Saturday nights, and I'm feeling a win against San Jose next week. So we'll see. In 2 weeks from now, how that actually plays out. But I agree with all your other calls there. I think that Chicago will just be. It'll be a bit of a difficult one, and it's just I just look at that. I mean, as wonderful as it is to have like the World Cup and have like, matches being played here in Vancouver in the months of June and July and all that. It's while the World Cup is on, it's a wonderful opportunity, right? But at the expense of the domestic season, and it really kind of having that 6-week layoff really sucks. And the fact that we're May 1st right now, more or less, and we're not going to see the Whitecaps here until August, which just seems preposterous. That is going to be another 2 months before we see our team at home. But at least when I look at
they'll come back.
Well, for now, next year's a different story,
is
right?
That too soon?
Yeah, that was way too soon.
Okay, before we wrap up, we talked to Martin Nash last week, coach of Vancouver FC. He said that it was imperative for them to start getting points, and they did. They went to Ottawa. They played Athletic Ottawa. They tied 1-1. So they recorded the first point of the season, which is great to see. And now they are going to have BC Clásico, because they're going to be facing Pacific FC on Sunday, May the 3rd, in what is going to be a match between the two worst teams in the leagues so far. So they're both Pacific FC and Vancouver FC. They have not recorded a win so far in the season. They both have 1 point. So surely something. If there's a winnable match, if there's a way for Vancouver FC to get a W in that column, is this weekend against Pacific FC, because they're arguably worse, not according to the numbers, but definitely in terms of points that they have. So hopefully that happens and they end up the weekend with 4 points as opposed to just 1.
But what if they draw? Did you think about that?
They're still putting points on the board.
Putting a point on the board. Yeah, a draw would be fine, but hopefully that results in Ottawa last week, and even though it was only a single point, maybe that gives them a little bit of confidence, and maybe that things are starting to come together for them. But yeah, I mean, when you get an opportunity to play, a team and especially a rival that is already on the ropes, they've obviously not started the season. You got to take that opportunity, and I think that this is that opportunity that Martin Nash's team has to really kickstart their season, because anytime you can get a win over a rival, that's just good for team morale. It's good for team spirit, and hopefully they can get those 3 points and kickstart the year, right?
And if you cannot beat Pacific FC in the current state in which they're in, then what possible chance do you have against all the other teams that are much better than them? And don't get me wrong, Pacific FC is saying the exact same thing, right? Like, if you cannot beat Vancouver FC, which is the worst team in the league right now, what chances do you have? But I think it's a toss-up at this particular point in time.
Yeah, but if they do lose that match to Pacific FC, then that actually begs some different bigger questions, right? Because Martin last week, when you talked to him, was just saying we're really close to kind of putting it all together. So if since then they only got a draw against Atletico Ottawa, and then and say they do lose to Pacific FC, I think that changes that conversation. I think at that point you're asking some deeper questions. Is like, we're not as close as we thought. In fact, we're further away than we were, and it wasn't a matter of just not quite doing what we needed to do to score goals and to finish our chances and to win those opening matches of the season. I think now you're asking yourself some more fundamental and deeper, darker questions. So let's hope it doesn't get to that.
Jesus.
So let's well, no, I mean, that's fair, right? Like,
Give
I mean,
them a break. My goodness.
I'm just saying, dude, it's just like, it gotta, like, if we don't kind of have like engaging content, nobody's gonna listen, and we gotta keep the three down.
At the 55th minute of the podcast, like all three people that are still listening to this.
Exactly. But before we go, can we just end on something else? I was doing a little bit of research, and I was looking back at, I was looking back at, I was like, because, I've got an Ajax kit upstairs from the mid-90s. So I was looking over some of the squads that AFC Ajax had playing for them in the 1990s, and check out this squad for Ajax in 1994, 1995. I don't even know if you were alive and born in that year, but
barely.
You're probably like 3 months old. You're a baby.
Yes.
But check this out. Goalkeeper, Edwin van der Sar. Right back, Michael Reiziger. Center back, Danny Blintz, also captain. Center back, Frank de Boer. Left back was a combo, was Frank Rijkaards last season. And Winston Bogarde. Defending midfielder, Clarence Seedorf. Central midfielder, Edgar Davids. Central attacking midfield, Jari Litmanen. Right winger, Finidi George. Left winger, Mark Overmars. And striking duties that year were split between, and this is not wrong, I checked it out, Ronald de Boer and a very, very young Patrick Kluivert.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
That's a stacked team, dude.
Right? Right. I mean, that's they weren't able to keep that side together for too much longer after that, because a lot of those players went off to play in, Italy and Spain and
the Premier League
and Premier League and stuff like that. But I mean, that is
really
a
legend
stacked side.
Absolutely. Except for like a couple of players, like they all have legend status.
Yeah.
Like,
and like I mean, most of those guys played for the Nederlands Elftal as well. They played for the national team. And I mean, Rijkaard played on the team that won the Euros in '88. And I mean, it's just, that's an impressive 11,
Yeah.
And Patrick Kluivert, like I said, I think he was like 18 or 19 at the time. He was just starting to make his name as a player. You know what's crazy too? His son is like almost like, it's like the apple didn't fall far from the tree. It's like the first time I saw like his son, I'm just like, it's just like
he was not playing for Roma, no?
He was playing in the Premier League. What was it, for Brighton or somewhere like that? One of those clubs, Bournemouth, I think it was. Yeah. I mean, really looks like his dad. So, anyways, I thought that was kind of cool, and I thought it was worth mentioning, because that's just a legendary side. And yeah, that was like the good old days. Not that these aren't good days, but maybe those were slightly better days. Anyways, time to call it a day or a night or whatever time of day this is. So there's that.
Let's do it.
All right.
Go.
I get to do it.
Sure.
That's it. It's that moment of awkward silence that endears us to the listenership so much. Anyways, everybody, check us out on our socials. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the match against the Galaxy this week, and we will be back next week to talk about the Whitecaps and all the irrelevant stuff that we can fit into an hour or maybe 2 hours. We'll see how it goes. That's the nice thing about being a podcast. You weren't bound to any specific time. But anyways, everybody have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.